कंजरवेटिव लीडर एरिनो टूल ने कोविड-19 महामारी प्रति फैडरल सरकार के जवाब बारे विचार वटांदरे लिए पार्लीमेंट हिल ते एक न्यूज़ कॉन्फ्रेंस की, जिथे उसने घोषणा की कि उसकी पार्टी उच्च टीकाकरण दरां के बावजूद कोविड-19 रूपों का प्रभावशाली ढंग नाल प्रबंधन करन लई कैनेडा की योग्यता विच महत्वपूर्ण घाटां की जांच करन लई हाउस हैल्थ कमेटी की एक एमरजेंसी मीटिंग बुलाना चाहुंदी है।
Governments across the country had little choice but to take these steps because the federal government has not delivered on key tools to help Canadians manage the risks of a pandemic in a population that is now largely fully vaccinated. In fact, the action and inaction by the Trudeau government is normalizing lockdowns and restrictions as the primary tool to fight the latest COVID-19 variant. It didn't have to be this way. Back at the start of the pandemic, the Prime Minister promised to deliver the tools that he said would reduce spread and keep our society and economy open. From his doorstep in the spring of 2020, Justin Trudeau promised Canadians that he would deliver on domestic supplies of PPE because we could not rely on other countries. We needed made in Canada supplies of personal protective equipment to keep healthcare and essential workers safe. So why 2 years later do we have PPE shortages in schools and insufficient N95 mask supplies 2 years later? Why does the Canadian Association of PPE Manufacturers tell us that the Trudeau government is back to buying most of their supplies from China? We have those tools now in terms of the vaccines, but we are still lagging terribly on other tools like testing and domestic supply of PPE. Therefore, the Conservative opposition will be convening an emergency meeting of the Health Committee to examine critical gaps in our country's ability to effectively manage COVID-19 variants, despite the high vaccination rates we now have as a country.
कुछ मिलिटरी मैंबरां वल्लों लाजमी वैक्सीनेशन संबंधी हुक्मां खिलाफ की गई बेनती नूं फैडरल कोर्ट वल्लों रद्द कर दिते जाण तो बाद कंजरवेटिव आगू एरिनो टूल ने आख्या कि उन्हां दा मनना है कि यूनीफॉर्म धारण करन वाले सारे व्यक्तियों की कोविड-19 खिलाफ वैक्सीनेशन लाजमी होनी चाहिए है। खुद फौज विच रह चुके ओ टूल ने यह सीधा सुनेहा कैनेडियन आर्मड फोर्सिस विच सेवा निभा रहे उन्हां लोकां नूं दिता जिहड़े एक टीका लगवाउण तो हिचकिचा रहे हन।
With service above self that we see in the Canadian Armed Forces, there will be a requirement for many and most operators to be vaccinated. This is a critical job that attaches with it the potential risk that you take by serving your country in uniform. So balancing off, making sure that as many people are vaccinated as possible needs to be the priority for the Canadian Armed Forces. Both Dr. Ellis and I are veterans of the Canadian Armed Forces. And actually, Glenn, this issue has been looked at many times in the past because of previous vaccinations that caused higher hesitancy in the Canadian Armed Forces. So my message to the military and the military families right now is simple. Thank you for your service. The vaccines we have are safe and effective. Ask questions to military docs like Dr. Ellis was years ago, and make sure you're part of our fight against COVID-19. And I think everyone in uniform should be vaccinated. As I've said, vaccines are the most important tool that we have to fight COVID-19. We should encourage as many people as possible to get vaccinated. That's been my approach since the start of the pandemic, since the start of us getting vaccines. I've also said there will be a small number that won't be vaccinated. How do we answer their questions, get that hesitancy down, and in some cases have reasonable accommodation to make sure that people don't get pink slips because they're not vaccinated. The trucking example I mentioned today is an example where the United States and other countries have found a reasonable accommodation for a small number that won't be vaccinated, but to be able to have them operate safely. We will be short tens of thousands of truckers if the government doesn't very quickly address this issue. That doesn't mean I don't think the people shouldn't be vaccinated. It means we have to deal with the reality of the fact that there will be a small number unvaccinated. I don't think shaming and causing division is the way to address hesitancy. That's Mr. Trudeau's approach. Our approach is actually getting people back to work, not dividing people on health.
ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਜੌਨ ਟੋਰੀ ਅਤੇ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਅਫਸਰ ਆਫ ਹੈਲਥ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਡੀ ਵਿਲਾ ਨੇ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਤੀਕਿਰਿਆ ਬਾਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਪ੍ਰਦਾਨ ਕੀਤੀ। ਮੇਅਰ ਟੋਰੀ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਕਰਮਚਾਰੀਆਂ ਅਤੇ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੀਕਾਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀ ਯੋਜਨਾ ਦੀ ਰੂਪਰੇਖਾ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਕੂਲ ਕਰਮਚਾਰੀਆਂ ਲਈ ਸਮਰਪਿਤ ਟੀਕਾਕਰਨ ਕਲੀਨਿਕ ਅਤੇ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀਆਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਸਟਾਫ ਲਈ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ 27 ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਕਲੀਨਿਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਯੋਜਨ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੈ।
Team Toronto is also doing everything it can and will do everything that it can to help school boards and the province to safely return to in-person learning in our schools in 2 weeks. Throughout the pandemic, Toronto Public Health has worked to support in-class learning and help children and teens get vaccinated against COVID-19. Today, I want to outline the steps that are being taken to help get more education workers and students vaccinated over the coming days, an important contribution that we can and will make as a city to getting schools open again on January 17th, the date set by the province. The steps would be as follows at this stage of the game. Number one, dedicated mass immunization clinics for Toronto school staff. 4 vaccination clinics with appointments specifically for education workers will be held in 2 city-run vaccination clinics this Sunday, January the 9th, and next Sunday, January the 16th. We are working with the Toronto School Board to help schedule employees for vaccination appointments at these clinics. And these are school board employees, many of whom will be educators. This effort will help more than 3,500 education workers get vaccinated as soon as possible in the City of Toronto. 2, school-based clinics. More than 27 clinics, including 22 Toronto Public Health clinics, are now planned to be held in schools over the next 2 weeks to help students, their families, and education workers get vaccinated. Team Toronto is working to add even more of these clinics, but as of this moment, there will be 27, including 22 public health clinics, now planned to be held in the schools over the next 2 weeks. Hospital and Ontario health teams are working with the school boards to offer more school-based vaccination clinics in areas where vaccination rates need to be increased.
ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਚੀਫ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਅਫਸਰ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਕਿਰਨ ਮੂਰ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਰਚੁਅਲ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੂਬੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਓਮਿਕਰੋਨ ਵੇਰੀਐਂਟ ਦੇ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੇ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਰ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਡਾਕਟਰ ਮੂਰ ਨੇ ਘੋਸ਼ਣਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਸੂਬਾ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਅਤੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਦੇਖਭਾਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਰਮਚਾਰੀਆਂ ਲਈ ਵੈਕਸੀਨ ਬੂਸਟਰ ਖੁਰਾਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਨੂੰ ਤੇਜ਼ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ।
We now very much are aware that we have widespread community activity. If you look at the percentage of tests that are positive, it's almost a third to 40% of the tests that are positive across Ontario. And well over 90% of them are Omicron. And hence additional knowledge through that surveillance is not necessary, as we can anticipate for the next 6 to 8 weeks that we'll have widespread community activity of the Omicron variant across Ontario. We will have additional surveillance, as I mentioned, through hospital sectors, monitoring COVID admissions. So causative admissions, those that are having pneumonia in particular related to COVID-19, as well as all admissions to the intensive care unit. So we did have preemptively distributed those 11 million tests. So children will be receiving further instruction on how to use those tests prior to the reopening of school. But the Minister of Health, in partnership with this office, had already given direction on testing before the return. So we have that safety buffer to ensure children don't return to school who test positive and they don't need confirmation once they have a positive RAT. We also have modified and changed our screening tool to ensure that it additionally monitors for symptoms on a daily basis. And as the Minister of Education has said many times, the investments that we've made in improved masking for educators, improved masking for children, improved ventilation, make our schools very safe relative to any other areas of the community. And our children have sacrificed a lot in the last 20 months. And I think it's a positive statement to ensure our schools stay open for the students that have sacrificed so much for their own mental, physical, and social well-being. So I applaud the minister. He's been single-minded with his approach in ensuring that our schools remain safe. So we've modified the screening tool to include additional symptoms that we've learned from Omicron, and that we think it's very sensitive to the symptoms of Omicron and would best protect the classroom and the workplace setting by having that in place now.
In terms of the masking that's available, the Ministry of Education, we have adequate supplies of masks. And a non-fit tested N95 will be available to staff. A 3-ply cloth mask will be made available to students if they so choose. That together is an additional layer of protection that we hadn't put in place before. The additional measures are as well. I think over 3,000 additional HEPA filters have been put in play and or are going to be put in play in the near future. The additional measures we're doing to protect school is some high-risk activities will be paused. So the music classes where there's potential for a further aerosolization.
USA ਦੇ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਜੋ ਬਾਈਡਨ ਅਤੇ ਉਪ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਕਮਲਾ ਹੈਰਿਸ ਨੇ 6 ਜਨਵਰੀ ਦੇ ਹਮਲੇ ਦੀ 1 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਬਰਸੀ ਤੇ ਕੈਪੀਟਲ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਟੈਚੂਰੀ ਹਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਦੇਸ਼ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਬੋਧਨ ਕੀਤਾ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਇਸ ਘਟਨਾ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਅਮਰੀਕੀ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਮੰਦਭਾਗੀ ਅਤੇ ਨਿੰਦਣਯੋਗ ਘਟਨਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਜੋ ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਸਾਬਕਾ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਡੋਨਾਲਡ ਟਰੰਪ ਉੱਤੇ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨੇ ਸਾਧੇ।
In this sacred place, democracy was attacked. Simply attacked. The will of the people was under assault. The Constitution, our Constitution, faced the gravest of threats. This isn't about being bogged down in the past. This is about making sure the past isn't buried. That's the only way forward. That's what great nations do. They don't bury the truth. They face up to it. Sounds like hyperbole, but that's the truth. They face up to it. We are a great nation. My fellow Americans, in life there's truth, and tragically there are lies. Lies conceived and spread for profit and power. We must be absolutely clear about what is true and what is a lie. And here's the truth. The former President of the United States of America has created and spread a web of lies about the 2020 election. He's done so because he values power over principle, because he sees his own interest as more important than his country's interest, than America's interest, and because his bruised ego matters more to him than our democracy or our Constitution. He can't accept he lost, even though that's what 93 United States senators, his own Attorney General, his own Vice President, governors and state officials in every battleground state have all said he lost. That's what 81 million of you did as you voted for a new way forward. He has done what no president in American history, the history of this country, has ever done. He refused to accept the results of an election and the will of the American people.